What's up, everyone? I am Austin Ekeler, and you are listening to the HuddleUK podcast.
A very, very warm welcome into this episode of the Huddle UK podcast. I'm your host, Philip Marsh, as always. And no, that intro clip you saw at the start was not generated by AI. I would forgive you if you thought it was, but no, today's guest, as you probably have gathered from the title, is none other than Washington Commanders running back Austin Ekeler. An opportunity which, quite frankly, I'm still pinching myself that happened. We reached out to Austin Ekeler and his team, and they kindly offered us a chance to speak to him after a busy day of training as well, which you'll hear in the conversation. Austin, one of the nicest blokes you can care to chat to, was more than happy to talk about all things from Commanders to Chargers to fantasy football, his own ability as a fantasy football player, and the incredible season he had last year as well, getting all pro for the first time as well. The general vibe of this entire episode as well, which the title will allude to, is about fantasy football, and more specifically charity fantasy football. Austin Ekeler has his own charity foundation, a new website called CharityDraft, which is a wonderful opportunity where current and former players, the like of Austin Ekeler and others, which we'll get into in the conversation, are sending off prizes of their own merchandise, helmets, jerseys, cleats, all the rest of it, for the winners of their own competitions that goes to the charities that these players represent and support. So a really good opportunity, but you don't have to be Austin Ekeler to have a big fantasy charity group or league. And of course, we've got loads of them over here in the UK. I know a lot of people who are part of the Huddle, who've joined our website, are also people who subscribe to and play in the JTT Cup, the Joshua Tarrant Trust Cup, which has been going for 5 years now over here, raised over £50,000. It's a wonderful cause. One of the ambassadors for that league, Matt Cullen, who I know most of you will follow as well over on Twitter, he joined us at the end to talk about that league as well. Just a shout out to any other charity league around. It doesn't have to be the two that we feature on today's episode. Go out and support your local leagues. They're always great causes, for really worthy causes as well. And these two are no exceptions to that. Before we get into the chat, we'll obviously get into Austin Ekeler first. Just as always, a plea, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please remember to give it a 5-star review. If you want to see the video and see the conversation with Austin Ekeler, head over to YouTube. The full podcast is videoed as well. You can see it there. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell while you're there so you'll never miss a video from the Huddle UK site. Remember, all the articles are over at HuddleUK.com. We're pre-season now. On the time we're recording, we're under 3 weeks from the start of the regular season. We're almost there. The long off season is almost over, but as a result, the articles come in thick and fast now. We're having multiple articles go up on the website a day. Some really, really good ones. I've particularly enjoyed James's Bears article, which went up this week. That's well worth a read if you're over there on the website. Follow us on all social medias at Join the Huddle UK. We're almost up to 800 followers on X. It'd be great to get there before the season starts. That's enough of my ramblings, as always. Austin Ekeler, who'd have thought it? A guest here on the Huddle UK podcast less than a year after we started. Let's get into it. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to say that joining the Huddle today is Washington Commanders running back, all pro as well, Austin Ekeler. Austin, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to chat to us today. How are you? How's your summer been?
It's been good. Thanks for having me on. Going from one huddle to this huddle is a little different. We're in training camp while we're filming this, and so it's been hot. You said it's summertime. Oh my goodness. We're practicing at like 8 o'clock in the morning to try to beat the summer heat, but it's been fun.
What are we talking about temperature out there? About 90 Fahrenheit, is it, around that at the moment?
Yeah, about 90 Fahrenheit, but it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Because when it gets humid, like just walking outside, you're already in like a kind of like a damp state of feeling where you're like, I kind of feel like I'm a little sweaty, but I'm not. And so just being in that and running around in that is just draining of the energy. Your body's just constantly trying to cool itself down. So it's been what it usually is. So just reminds me every single year I'm in training camp.
And I know you've got those sort of like the big protective helmets that often are worn during pre-season. Are they any worse? Because they look so much heavier as well.
So I actually have a newer helmet, which actually tests better than the old helmet with the Guardian cap on it. So I don't have to wear the Guardian cap this year. So very fortunate to have, the newest tech that hopefully keeps me safe this year.
Good, and hopefully so. Fingers crossed as well. I want to talk Commanders, fantasy football, and we'll get onto your own website as well, which is what you're here for. Just want to start with last season. It feels like the right place to start. A new team for you after years with the Chargers, and more of a split backfield role after a couple of years of really heavy workload for the Chargers. How did it feel getting that efficiency back? I know you've alluded to that clip for the Chargers against the Packers a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
Last year was more the you that you expected to see on the field. It must have been nice to have that back.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're spending a lot of time in the NFL, your role tends to change. And different players have different journeys. My journey has taken me, as you mentioned, to the Commanders, and I'm actually back with my old head coach, who's now my running back coach. So I had some familiarity with him, actually in a similar type of role when he was my head coach. I was actually splitting a lot of carries with Melvin Gordon at the time. And so this is not anything that's new to me. I've been in a place where I've split carries before. I actually think it helps me feel better during the season because now I can, take less, be fresh more, throughout the entire year, helps with durability. And so I appreciate being in this type of position because at the end of the year, I feel like I'm ready to go again for the next one.
Yeah, almost a yard and a half more per carry in 2024 compared to 2023, and it was a great year last
Not
year,
only
wasn't it?
that, I believe I led yard per reception too, at the running back category as well. So getting back to my old ways of, being effective out of the backfield, catching the ball.
Yeah, because I was looking at your career numbers just before you jumped on, and 4,722 yards on the ground is great, but then when you add 4,250 as well through the air, a real hybrid dual threat as a player.
Absolutely.
Um, Last year was fantastic, wasn't it? Jayden Daniels took the league by storm in his rookie year, first rookie to win 2 road playoff games. Our Commanders writer for the Huddle UK website, Chris, sadly can't be here. He's going to jump on. He's moving his family back from Australia to the UK, so somewhere over the middle of the ocean right now. He is, but he's written at length for our website about that game against the Eagles in the playoff and how, in his opinion, it sort of turned on a dime when there was a missed holding call towards the end of the first half. When Barkley went and got another first down for the Eagles. What was your assessment on that game and the season as a whole for your first year in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll start with the season and then end with that game. I think, for us going into that atmosphere, to a new environment of the Commanders where they had won 5 games the previous year, there was kind of a sentiment in the media of like, oh, this is like a rebuild year. We'll see how it goes. And for media, that they have all people have to basically comment on is what has already happened. Right. And so for us, going into it, we can't think about anything that's already happened. We have to think about the now. As players, we have to be in the moment because the moment is what builds the future. So for us, we're locked into, hey, we don't know what happened or cared what happened last year. All we care about is what is right now. And we came in, built a great culture, had a star, quarterback come in, Jayden, and do his thing, be a playmaker for this team, and had a lot of veteran leadership around him to help him execute what we did last year. And we started to see results. The results started to come from that. We started to put some streaks of wins together, and obviously got us into the playoffs. One of 2 playoff games, got to that championship game, and in the game of football, you got to show up to play every single day, and if you don't, it shows. And that was one of those days where we had some turnovers, and it was one of those days where, hey, they came in bunches. There's a saying that we say turnovers tend to come in bunches, and it did for us. Unfortunately, the week before it was the opposite, where the Lions, I think they gave us the ball like 3 or 4 times, and then for us the next week, unfortunately, we had the turnover bug, and they were able to capitalize and pretty much seal us out of the play or out of the Super Bowl.
How was the mood after that game? Obviously, immediately afterwards, it would have been disappointment. Nobody ever likes losing in whatever sport, but there must have come quite quickly a sense of achievement of what you'd done on the season.
Yeah, I think, as you look back on your career, you kind of look at that and you see like, hey, even though it was a lot of disappointment at the end of the year, it was an awesome, awesome year to be a part of, from the expectations that really no one had for us to go out there and kind of prove the media wrong and kind of, show that, hey, we deserve some respect. That was really cool to be a part of and really put ourselves in a position, to earn respect going into our second year with a lot of our guys coming back that we had the year before. That's one of those years that I'll never forget. Every year in the NFL is unique. And that one was particularly unique because we ended up winning a lot of games. Sometimes they're unique because you lose a lot of games. So I've been around a long time. I've been on both sides of it, but definitely prefer, when you can make a great run and have those type of stories.
And you mentioned Jayden Daniels. Obviously, before that with the Chargers, you worked with Philip Rivers and Justin Herbert. You've been quite fortunate in your career with the quarterbacks that you've had to work with.
Hey, I've had two rookie quarterbacks that have made rookie offensive player of the year. So, I'd like to say I contribute to that. There's also other players, but I'm definitely a common denominator in two of them so far. So, if you got a rookie quarterback, probably not bad to have me on the team.
Yeah, yeah, hit up Austin Ekeler if you got a new rookie. You're going into your ninth season now in the NFL. I know, as I touched upon with your reception yards as well, you've referred to yourself as less of a traditional running back, more of this hybrid player who can, makes the position your own. I guess it is still a position which takes a physical toll. Is there any sort of like training or recovery advice you'd give to some of the younger running backs coming through? I know you obviously got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt as well now with the Commanders, and as the veteran presence, what advice do you have to those sort of guys?
It's different for everybody. Everyone has their own things that they've gone through. For me, I live in the weight room. I've been in the weight room. I'm always in the weight room. I'm in the weight room. I'm going to preach weight room. I said a weight room a lot because that's how much I care and I uphold the weight room. I'm in the weight room. My body is durable. My body is solid. I'm not a big guy, but I'm strong. I'm compact. I have great contact balance. I've built with leverage. I like to say, I'm easy. It's easy for me to get low. I'm already lower than most of the guys just from, standing up. And so for me, that's what it comes down to, just getting your body ready, putting yourself through the enduring weight room sessions, lifting weight. Like that's what's worked for me. Not everyone's like that, but that's what I would give if I was giving advice about how to stay durable in the NFL.
Yeah, not everyone can do one arm pull ups as well, which I've seen on social
Hey,
media
it's
you've been doing.
compounding interest, you continue to put in the time all of a sudden and you're like, hey, now I can do a one arm pull up, but you got to start somewhere.
And obviously, you were an undrafted free agent yourself. In the early days of your career, there must have been a sense of that you're going to have to beat the odds to make it as a star in the NFL. When you joined the Chargers, you'd have been with Antonio Gates, who we talked about on the podcast last week, joining the Hall of Fame, another undrafted free agent himself. Who were the sort of big influences on you and your career, not necessarily in that first year with the Chargers, but all the way through to now, of just staying at the top of the game and always believing that you have it?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to go out and prove yourself every single year. And the moment you, I think, stop having that fire to go do that is when you probably should retire because there's hungry people every single year coming to take your job. And once you've secured your job and made the 53-man roster, now it's how can you stand out? How can you help your team to the best of your ability? And not only that, but also get yourself in a position where you're valued so you can get to a next contract. There's so many reasons to compete and not get comfortable in the NFL. And it is one of the most competitive leagues out there. There's the professional sports is just it's the top of people that have put so much time and effort into this profession. So there's the luck that plays into it, timing that plays into it, all of the stuff that plays into it. So if you're in a position to take advantage, you have to stay hungry. You have to keep going. And if you don't have that, probably should be hanging it up because you're probably not going to last too much longer. And so, coming into this year, even year 9, it's the same mentality. Yes, I might be a little bit older, but I'm also a lot wiser, right? I'm a little bit more efficient. And so for me, that mentality never really leaves. And it's the same thing as when I was undrafted. Now I've just proven myself a little bit more, so I have some somewhat of a reputation to build on, and that can kind of hold and trust some of the coaches that bring me in. But for the most part, that's just the start. That'll get you in the door. You still got to prove that you got it every single day.
And it sounds very much like the fire is still there with you. I mentioned the rookie in the running back room now, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Plenty of running backs there. Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichol. What's the room like? What's the vibe like with you guys? As I said, last year was very much a joint community effort in that role and in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of different variety in our offense. With Cliff Kingsbury, our offensive coordinator, teaming up with um, Jayden Daniels, who can do a lot. He can run the ball, he can throw the ball, he can be a threat, with his legs. It opens up us to be able to have a multi-dimensional offense. So it's great when you have different types of backs that can do different types of things, because then you're also adding variety in your skill positions as well. We bring in Deebo Samuel, another kind of hybrid guy that can run the ball, but also can catch the ball and be really effective, after the catch. We have Zach Ertz. We got to get the deal done with Terry. Like, there's all of these weapons that can be used in different ways. We have Brian Robinson, who's, kind of seen as the starter right now. He's the bell cow, big back, 230. You have me, who's more of the hybrid. So just think of all of what I just said, and that's what defenses have to deal with. How do we guard all of these guys? And think we're going to be in so many different formations. We're going to be running guys on and off. I'm going to be out in the slot. I'm going to be in the backfield. Also, we run no huddle offense, so we're not huddling up. So you don't have that much time to react and get in the right spot and go. So we can keep you on your toes, do so many different things from so many different players and personnels. That is why we're so effective. So it's been awesome to be part of.
I know players don't tend to like putting specific targets on seasons. It's more we're going to do the best that we can. So I'm not going to ask you directly, but how do you think the roster stacks up this year compared to last year? And I assume that there's got to be this real sense of belief that you can go as far in 2025, or if not further than you did last year.
Yeah, there's obviously a belief that we can go further. I think, you set a bar for yourself every single year. And then at the end of the year, you can, tell if you've made the bar, or if you have to set a new bar. And I think the last year always sets the bar for you, if you're part of the same organization, in my opinion. And, we've retained pretty much our entire coaching staff, if not all of them. And then also we've retained a lot of our core players, as a team in general. Some, as always, some kind of moved on, got new contracts, but then, I feel like we brought in a lot of great guys, offensively speaking. We got LT, Laremy Tunzel as a left tackle, traded him from Arizona. We drafted a guy, from Oregon, our first rounder for this year as well. So we're bringing in guys. We got Debo that came in that can really help us on the offensive side, defensive side as well. Made some free agent pickups. So as I feel right now, I'm super confident in our team. Our team looks amazing at practice. I can't wait to see us in action. But what it really comes down to is us. How do we mesh? How are we bringing all these pieces together and executing on the field? And then what's that chemistry like? Because that chemistry is what's going to continue to help us keep a rhythm, because we can stay together. You can keep picking each other up, because, yeah, we can have great talent. I've been on a lot of teams with great talent over the Chargers, but I don't think we had the chemistry part that kind of kept us together, that continued to help us string together and pick us up when we were, going through some lulls. So I love that we have that over here with the Commanders.
And just before we move on to fantasy football, on a personal level, last season, although it wasn't as the running back position, you got your All Pro title last season. How did it feel just to get that accolade? It must have been a really special moment.
Yeah, you go out there as a player and you just put everything on the field. And so anytime you can get some recognition for, doing something at a high level in a very competitive atmosphere, you appreciate those type of things. And I definitely do. I'll take any accolades that I can get, because this league is not forever. So when I look back at it, the more that I have, the more memories that will be caused because of that. So I definitely appreciate it.
And onto fantasy football, a former running back one in fantasy yourself. Don't think there's anyone better suited to talk about it. That, of course, that season back in 2022, I think it's still the record for the most receptions for a running back in Chargers history, with 107, which is just a ridiculous number when it comes to the running back position. Is it just NFL fantasy that you've been a fan of, or have you branched out into other sports? Have you ever dipped your toe in
So
any British sport?
the reason that I'm actually interested in the fantasy sports world in general is because I love the community aspect of it. It's not even that I love like fantasy football and getting into the weeds of like the sleeper picks. I love that it brings people together. People get passionate about it. They want to do the drafts together. They got great punishments. They got awesome gifts and stuff. Like, I love that people get so excited for it. And so because of that, that's why I've continued to stay attached to it. And I started a show about fantasy, and I've been learning more about fantasy as I've been really falling in love with the community aspect of it, which has really opened my doors to how deep you can really get into this stuff. And looking at, different, coordinators using people, like, you're looking at, injuries, you're looking at age, you're looking at this whole layout of, potentials of why this person might be a boom or a bust. And it's really cool. It's intricate, it's strategic, and I think it's an awesome concept.
I think it's the way that a lot of fans over in the UK, myself included, got into it. A mate of mine, when I started university, came up to me in the first year and was like, "You need to get into fantasy NFL. It's the best thing." I'm now in more leagues than I care to think about. What's the best sort of punishment you've come across in your time? Because loads of leagues have one.
Yeah.
Our league, that we've got a community in Cardiff here in Wales, about 10 of us, and we're in a league every year. We don't have a punishment, but it's been floated as an idea for this year. So if you had to give a recommendation, what would you say?
I saw a punishment one time. I think it was at a McDonald's. And basically, it was you have to spend 24 hours in a McDonald's. And to reduce your time, you can eat food. So I wouldn't recommend doing this one. This is just the wildest one that I've ever heard. And basically, it was like per dollar or per like cent was like every like minute or something like that. So you could just continue to eat to get yourself out of it. That was one. I've seen ones where people have to walk around, outside of the stadium wearing a sign, that says like I'm terrible at fantasy football. Please, like talk some crap to me, stuff like that. So there's some humiliating ones. There's some ones, that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. You got to be like really dedicated because if you're in a league like that, like you're not even playing to win anymore. You're playing to not get last. So I wouldn't make the punishment too egregious because again, then you're scared and like now you might have to do that if you have a bad year. So, um, but hey, if you're that passionate and you want to go for it, go for it.
I remember seeing that McDonald's one going around Twitter. I think it was like, you can take off 30 minutes if you have a Big Mac. I think it said you get
Right.
10, 15 minutes off for every hash brown. I was like, I think
Right.
I just order
Right.
loads of hash browns and just go through as many of those as I could. I reckon I could get down a few hash browns in a few hours. Of course, as well, the reason you're here today is to talk about your new incentive, your new website, which is charitydraft.com, a new fantasy site with fantasy players and active players as hosts. But I'll let you do the honors and explain, where the idea came from and what exactly it entails.
Yeah, so charity or fantasy football really doesn't mean a lot to us as players. Like we don't have really an incentive for any reason to be involved in fantasy football because it's on our past stuff that's happened in the past for us, even though it's still real time for the fantasy people. And we don't have teams of our own. And so what I was looking into is how can we use the passion in fantasy football and make a reason for athletes to want to get involved and actually care about this space because the fans care about it so much already. So there's an opportunity there. And so what I came up with was the idea of charity draft. And what it is we get NFL players to donate game gear, NFL, game tickets, signed memorabilia, anything unique to them that they want to offer up for prizes, and they'll offer those for prizes for the winners of the fantasy football league. So things that you can't necessarily buy, like you can't buy one of my game jerseys now because I buy them all for myself, so I can have them for later on. And so things like that you can get. From different players across the league. We have 20 leagues right now. There's different tiers of points depending on how much you want to register. And one of the best parts is your registration fee will go to the charity of choice. So it'll be back into the community, helping out, people that are in need. So it's a great concept to play some charity, play some fantasy football, win some great prizes, and then also, help out some people in need. And there's some unique things that we do too. For example, just by signing up, you get a signed poster from that person. You get a charity draft or a fantasy football guide. You get free coaching from Matthew Berry, who's like a fantasy football expert. And so we just by signing up, you're getting entered into, automatically get some things. And then we also have one last thing. Every single week there's a competition. So like week 1 is called the backfield boom. If your 2 running backs score more than anyone else's running backs across all the leagues, you're going to get a big prize package from all of our sponsors. And so there's every single week something that you're competing for, not just at the end. So we make it an exciting way to give back to charity, but then also to play fantasy, and win a ton of great prizes.
And we've got names on there like yourself, Geno Smith, Ray Lewis, AJ Dillon, Trent McDuffie as well, Johnny Smith. The names go on and on. So, as you said, there's some real great names, and the entry scale from around $50 all the way up to where some of the prizes I was looking at are unbelievable
Oh
prizes,
yeah.
tickets, game worn signed jerseys, cleats, all the rest of it. I guess the idea was spawned out of your love for this sphere and this environment.
Yeah, I just love the community, and I was like, "Man, like, what does the community crave, and what can we give them that they can't get anywhere else?" And our time is super precious to us. I was like, "Okay, not everyone wants to give up their time, but however, we have a lot of game gear that is like super special and is like super unique. And so we can leverage this to give this to the community, the fantasy football community, who's already really passionate about players and things like that, and kind of combine that concept that allows fantasy players to play for unique things that they can say they have and no one else does. And so it's just another unique way to play. And I think where we're at right now, we have 20 players. We're going to continue to grow this concept year after year. So even if you don't see your favorite player on there right now, we'll probably have them in the next year or two. And then also defensive players are on there as well. So we have some studs, like you mentioned, Trent McDuffie, stud corner for the Chiefs. Justin Reed, stud safety for the Saints. So it's a great way to get defensive players who really don't affect fantasy. You can still be a fan of them and play fantasy. Now you can actually, get something from them at the same time. So really great concept, charity draft. Check it out. You can type it into Google, it'll pop up.
Yeah, charitydraft.com. And of course, your league is for the Austin Ekeler Foundation, which you can find more information about on the site, but an initiative close to your heart. And you've already, I know, made a big impact on people's lives, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've been running this is a fundraiser. So this is a fundraiser for my charity, but we've done other fundraisers and done a lot of projects for my foundation. My foundation puts tangible resources back into the community. So washers and dryers, school supplies, backpacks. We renovate weight rooms as well for high schools that have really worn down weight rooms. Really, what our mission is to make the things normal that seem normal in some people's lives that might not be in someone's. Like, for example, the washers and dryers, we went and implemented those in elementary schools in places that have really a lot of low income housing so that people and families could actually bring their clothes into the school and have their clothes washed. So things like that, hey, everyone should have clean clothes. That should be a staple part of everyone's life. Let's make sure that that's a reality for some people that it might not be. So all of these funds are going towards projects like that. Some do mentorships, some do football camps, some do supplies. So really a great, like I said, initiative to really bring the community together and then also have fun at the same time.
Well, Austin, it's been a pleasure. Just before you go, I know you've been an RB1 in fantasy yourself. If you had to put a number on where you think you'd be this year, probably not the volume for an RB1 finish this season with the split backfield, but where are you ranking yourself?
Yeah, my role has definitely changed. There's no doubt about that. My role has changed. I've gone back to kind of the split. But hey, even though I was splitting back in the day with Melvin Gordon, I was still hanging up in there in the top and definitely like the top 50. So I want to make sure I'm a cracking, like I would say for me, I would be satisfied as, a top 32. Like I want to crack into the top 32 out of the running backs this year in the fantasy space.
Top 32 it is. Austin, thank you very much for joining the huddle. Good luck to yourself and the Commanders. And if you're listening and big fantasy fans, make sure to go check out charitydraft.com. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, Austin. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for having me on. I appreciate your time.
Well, a big thank you to Austin Ekeler. It's a sentence I can't believe I'm saying that this early into the project of Huddle UK, but it was an absolute honour and a privilege to speak to him, an active all-pro running back. So thank you to Austin. Hopefully one day in the future we'll have him on again. But of course, his NFL fantasy charity isn't the only one, and you don't have to go as far as the United States to find one. We've got plenty of them in here in the UK, and one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one, I'm sure you'll tell me one way or another now, is Matt, who's one of the ambassadors. I'm not sure what the exact title you use is, but for the JTT Cup. Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, really good. Thank you, and really pleased to be on speaking to you about it today.
Can you give us a bit of a backstory into it? Obviously, JTT stands for the Joshua Tarrant Trust, which is the charity that the tournaments that you run is supported. Can you give us Joshua's story and where the charity sort of came from?
Yeah, of course. So Joshua Tarrant was a remarkable young man. He lives in the town that I live in, or which is 20 miles southeast of Cambridge. Unfortunately, he developed a brain tumor when he was very young, at 8 years old, and eventually passed away from that, despite defying doctors for 8 years when he was 16 years old. So I never got the opportunity to meet Joshua, but I have met his parents, Sean and Denise, who set up the Joshua Tarrant Trust in his name and in his honour following his passing. And it's a local independent charity that funds care for other children with brain tumours. at a ward in Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, and they work with a company called Rainbow, who do that care, and all the money that they raise helps fund that. And they were brought to my attention during COVID because one of my friends, who is also an NFL fan, was trying to raise money for them, and he couldn't work during COVID. And he's a DJ, so he set up a Facebook group called the Disco Kitchen, and he used to stream live sets on a Friday and Saturday night on the group, so people that were stuck at home and couldn't go out could at least listen to some music. And he started incorporating some charity draws into that, raffles and stuff like that, to raise money for the charity. So that's how they came to my attention, and I thought, what can I do to help? I can use my small following, as it was then, on Twitter, to set up a fantasy football competition. I've always been a bit of a numbers geek, a bit of a nerd, like spreadsheets. So I'll set this up. I'll get everyone that comes in to donate an amount of money to the charity directly, and we'll see where we go. So set it up during that COVID year, but our first year of competition was 2021. We got 60 people and we raised £765, which I was really, really pleased with. And it just grew absolute horns from there, really. So we're in our 5th year this year. Our main competition is a best ball competition. This year had 650 people in it, which was our record number of entrants. And in terms of participants, is the largest charity league in the UK, certainly this year anyway. And it's good that I'm speaking to you today, actually, because we actually reached a fundraising milestone this morning. So our fundraising all time for the charity hit £53,000 this morning.
Oh, amazing.
From something really, really small, just wanting to make a little difference to a small independent charity, has become this big thing that now consumes my life, but for good reason.
Yeah, you were just saying before we started recording this that I'm in your. You've got the big league, the best ball league you've talked about. There's also a podcast and sort of fan league as well, separate to that. You've also got a couple of soccer/football leagues going on, don't you? So £53,000, incredible. I get a few hundred notifications a day. Your phone must go mad.
Yeah, I was just saying before we came online, didn't I? When our draft for the main competition, because there's 65 divisions, when that started on the 19th of July, I was getting over 5,000 notifications every day for 4 or 5 days, and it's still in the hundreds now. But yeah, I have a group of team. I have a team of people that help me with it now as well. Help with some of the communication and awareness raising and stuff like that. I couldn't do it on my own. I did it on my own in year 1, but since year 2, I've had other people helping me because it's obviously got quite big. And all we want to do is just try and raise as much money for a great cause. So yeah, we as you said, we had the main best ball league, but we've got all sorts of other stuff that we organise throughout the year that helps raise money as well. So.
Have you got a team yourself as one of the ambassadors for the charity in the best ball league?
Yeah. So I play in it. I always joke because people say to me, "What would you do if you won it?" And I was like, "Well, firstly, the chances are very small, of course. 650 people. I don't tend to be actually that good at fantasy football. I'm good at organising it. I'm just not good at playing it. But someone says to me, "What would you do if?" And I've actually decided if I got to the final, because the final this year will be 13 people in week 17. If I was so lucky to get to the final, I would just withdraw myself from it because it just wouldn't feel right that I won my own competition. You know, there's no monetary prize or anything like that, but it's the glory and everything else. So I think that's what I'll probably do. Not that I think it will happen.
I saw someone, I can't remember who it was now. I think it was one of the gentlemen from the Big Blue New York Giants podcast who posted that he's gone for a Burrow, Higgins and JJ double stack. And then I looked at my team. I was like, that's exactly what I've done. So if the Vikings and the Bengals both have a huge season, I'll be seeing him hopefully towards the latter stages. The Huddle UK team is in the Happy Gilmore League. I think that was one of the first subscribed leagues because this year you have a different theme, don't you, each year from when the leagues are named?
Yeah, that's right. So it's funny. In year 1, we just had a pirate theme because the Bucks had won the Super Bowl the previous season, and so I didn't necessarily think that we were going to have a theme every year. In year 2, we did we did like a local rivals. We were trying to organise. So COVID had ended. We were trying to organise some live drafts. So there was one live draft. My division had a live draft at my house, but we tried to group people together in case they could get together for a live draft. And what was really cool was me and my son actually. So we took everyone's location, and me and my son got a big A1 size map of the UK and just put loads of pins in it, and then put elastic bands around groups of 10, and went, right, this is going to be Division 1, blah blah blah. Then we've also had, what else have we had? We had a rivals theme where we had people who support teams from the same division all together. So that was quite good because there was quite a lot of banter flowing that season. And crikey, what did we have last year? Did we have a music theme?
You had music
Yeah,
last year, I
we
believe
had
it
a
was
music theme
bands.
last year, and then we've got sports movies, this year. So the people that were early donators this year got to choose their division, and then once we got towards kind of the back end of it, people were just kind of allocated. But yeah, we've got 65 different sports movies encompassing lots of different sports. So yeah, it's good fun.
And this is not in a tooting horde way at all, but we got to, as Huddle UK, pick our league really early on, because in my first ever JTT entry, we entered the Super Bowl competition back in February, and first time won it. So
Yeah,
that was a good surprise. I think we were like 1 second off on the anthem, and at half time we were pretty much halfway on all the themes, and I was like, I got a chance here. Got a
yeah, yeah.
chance here. So that was excellent. It was quite fun as well, seeing the community come together, because the girl who happens to come second in that Super Bowl competition happens to be the brother of someone I've been in a fantasy league with for years.
All
So
right.
people I didn't even know were connected to it started getting in touch. So that was really nice. And, as you say, it's a proper community now, 600 people playing this year at a wonderful cause. Unfortunately, obviously, we're recording this on, I think, the 14th of August. The Best Ball League this year has already been drafted. That's been
Yeah.
done. But you do have other competitions going on, and I assume you'll have another Super Bowl one come February this year as well, or next year.
Yeah, so we've kind of pretty got a standard set of stuff now. So the podcast league is new this year. So really what I wanted was a podcast rep for every team, and then some extra podcasts that are either fantasy related or more kind of NFL generic related podcasts. So we've ended up with 48 people in that, one rep for every team, and then 16 other ones, which has been great. So this is the first year. But we also do, and it's coming up to deadline now because the soccer season starts tomorrow. The Premier League soccer season starts tomorrow. So we do an FPL league on the FPL app as well. We've done that for 3 years, and then we do a Pick'ems pool on the Premier League, which is on Sleeper as well. So we just do £8 entry. £4 of that goes to charity. £4 goes to a prize pool. We pay out the top 3 players at the end of the year. And then we also do an NFL pick'ems as well, which obviously the deadline will be slightly later for when the season starts in 3 weeks today, isn't it? 3 weeks today? 2 weeks
It is
today?
3 weeks today, is the day of
3
the
weeks
recording.
today, yeah.
We're recording this
Um,
on the Thursday.
yeah, and then the Super Bowl competition. So I've had Super Bowl hosted at my house for probably 10 years or so. And we used to do one just amongst like my local mates that would come round, just a numbers guessing game. We've done that for 4 years in the community as well, where people just guess, the length of the anthem, the time of the first touchdown, the yardage of certain players, and whoever overall is the closest across it all wins the pot, or half the pot, sorry, which is obviously what you managed to do this year, and you won because I think it was Poppy guessed like a ridiculous number for the amount of times Taylor Swift would be shown on the broadcast. She guessed something like 35, and it actually ended up being 4 or something like that. And if she'd have guessed anything remotely to 4, she would have she would have won it. But that was your game.
Well, I'm delighted that she was a big Taylor Swift fan in that respect. And of course, you don't have to be playing in the league to donate to the charity. So where, if somebody wanted to get involved and just donate out the kindness of their heart without playing in the league this year, where could they go to do that?
So there's a Just Giving page for the charity. You can either Google search it, or if you go to joshuatarranttrust.org.uk, that's their actual charity website. It has lots more information about Joshua and his story and what the charity do and how they fundraise outside of what I do. And there's also a link to the Just Giving page on the front page of their website. So yeah, that's joshuatarranttrust.org.uk.
And you can follow, of course, all the they're on all the social medias. I think you're the admin, aren't you, for the one over on X? That's at JTT Cup.
Yeah,
As you've said, I can see your tweet here in front of me. New bio to celebrate the £53,000
yeah,
pounds raised. So in 5 years, a wonderful cause. And as I said, Austin Ekeler's charity, a fantastic cause over in the States, and we've got the JTT Cup over here. Many others as well. We couldn't get every single person on from every charity competition, but just to bring you today before the start of the season. We are under 3 weeks, as this episode will come out on Saturday, less than 3 weeks from the start of the NFL season. It's getting very close now. It's been a long off season. I can see your den set up there, Matt. Every year, I think it just feels longer and longer, doesn't it, the off season?
yeah. It does, and to be fair, obviously the organisation of the fantasy stuff keeps me quite busy. I normally have a couple of months off after the Super Bowl, and then we come back in April. This year we did for the first time. We did a donation day. So Joshua passed away on the 29th of April. So we did a donation day on the 30th of April. We didn't want it to be on the anniversary, but we thought if we do it at the end of the month, most people will be paid and get most of the donations in then. So that was my busy time, was April. And then from then on, it's just organising people, chasing people. So it doesn't feel too long. And now we're bloody hell, we're in the middle of August, and only 3 weeks away from another season of despair as a Jets fan. So yeah.
You just beat me to my final question, which is obviously, as you can tell from the background behind you, you are a Jets fan. It's been it's a tough team to support, isn't it? The New York Jets. Every time everything seems to be going positive, an Achilles goes, for example.
Yeah.
How do you see this season going? I think I'm in the minority camp, as I still believe in Justin Fields, and I might be a lunatic for saying that, but I've always liked Justin Fields. He's not necessarily no, he isn't the best quarterback, but I think he's fun to watch, and I think fun would be a step up for the Jets this season.
Yeah, it's not been fun for a long time. I mean, I've been a fan for 20 years next year, and we've obviously not had much success even getting into the playoffs during that time, only twice. I think what I am pleased with is I think we've made some good moves in free agency. I think our draft was pretty solid. I like the coaching and the culture change that's come with Aaron Glenn. That's positive. I think Fields, the jury's out on Fields. I'm not completely out on him. I've seen other UK-based Jets fans who are already kind of bracing themselves for another season of disaster. But I'm quietly optimistic. I think we've got some good pieces elsewhere on the roster. We won't make the playoffs, I don't think, unless Fields absolutely lights it up. I don't think we'll make the playoffs, but anything 6-7 wins or maybe a bit more would be an improvement, and just less drama would be great. And I think what we saw with Rodgers and the previous coaching was there was a lot of noise and a lot of drama, and that seems to, like, no one's talking about us this summer, which is great because the last 2 summers it's been a bit of a circus. So I'm quietly optimistic of a half decent season, which would be better than most recent ones.
And is there any reason the teams that you support all seem to wear green? Because if I'm not mistaken, you're a Plymouth Argyle fan as well.
Do you know what? So I think on every single podcast I've ever been on, I get asked that question: is there a link between Plymouth and the Jets? And the answer, honestly, is no. So I was born in Plymouth. My dad lived in Plymouth until he died. He was a season ticket holder for a long time. He was a Navy boy, so he's always been down there. And I support the Jets because my auntie moved to Connecticut when I was really little. To me, she lived in New York because it was the nearest big city. She doesn't actually live in the city. She's about an hour and a half on the train. And the first time I went to the States 20 years ago to visit her, Jets were at home the Sunday we were in New York, and it just stuck. So that's the reason. And there's absolutely no correlation for the green, but that is, obviously why this room is painted that colour.
I have to be a heart Plymouth fan myself because my fiance's from Tor Point, which you'll know well, just down there as well. So
Nice.
Cardiff myself, but we were following each other down to League One last season. So hopefully a bit better this season. Matt, thank you very much for joining. As I said right at the top as well, make sure to go check out the Austin Ekeler Foundation. Make sure to go check out the Joshua Tarrant Trust. 2 really good causes, and in general, go and support your charity leagues wherever they are, not just these 2, but all of them. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Huddle UK podcast. It's been a pleasure to have some wholesome content on this week, and we will catch you in 2 weeks' time before we move to one episode a week during the regular season. I've been the host, Philip Marsh. Matt, thank you very much. We'll catch you next time.